Hello, everybody. Welcome to the world according to Sam Marshall. I'm absolutely delighted today to be able to introduce to you Steph Thomas. So, Steph, according to his LinkedIn bio, is a professional speaker for business events and conferences. I agree. I've seen him at it. He's absolutely brilliant. He's a keynote speaker, a conference speaker, a leadership and communication skills trainer. And I have to add, he's extremely good at that as well. And he's a best-selling author of 3 books. It all started with Business Networking for Dummies. It went on to Instant Networking, which I'm just going to show off for a second, personally signed by Steph, and Win the Room, which he wrote in collaboration with Wes Linden. He's also the founder of the Networking Retreat and Networking Connect, I believe you're calling it now, which you'll hear about later. But most importantly to me, he's my friend.
Thank you.
So, Steph, welcome.
I'm really flattered to be invited on. Thank you ever so much for having me.
Well, there were 2 reasons. I wanted to launch the world according to Sam Marshall in 2026.
Yeah.
And there's one other thing that you and I share that I'm really proud of and make the most of once a year, and that's our birthday.
Absolutely.
Now, although we are recording this in advance, this will actually go out on Wednesday, March the 11th, when you and I hopefully will be sat somewhere with a nice cup of tea and a cake or a sandwich or whatever, because we will be enjoying our birthdays. I do then say I am, of course, older. Not that you know it, but there you go. So the reason that I wanted you and the reason that I wanted to start with you, my networking journey started with you.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that I want to share with everyone was just how you made me feel. So I want to roll us back to October 2013, when I had just launched a business in September 2013. And a friend said, you need to go networking, and I've got just the place for you. At the time, you were the network director for a national company.
Yeah.
And although I didn't know it at the time, such is your brilliance in doing what you do, whenever you saw a new person was joining that network, you made it your business to get in touch with them, to find them on LinkedIn or whatever social media they happen to be on. And on the day that I signed up to go to that networking, you reached out to me on LinkedIn. And I was blown away by that. Wow, this man, and he's in this network, and he's talking to me. And you happen to say, and I'm coming to that one as well. Now, I live 12 miles from the venue. You lived something like 250 miles from the venue. The whole thing started at 8 o'clock. And I was late. And I really, I can't remember who said it, but I was always told, if you turn up on time, you're late. I was running behind. I sat there, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? So I got to the venue, and just as I was parking my car, you drove in behind me. And the thought that went through my head was, fantastic, that's Steph. Now, if I just scurry out of the car and rush into the meeting, I won't be the last one. And literally, I shot up the steps, and in you came behind me. And you came and spoke to me, and you introduced me to the team, and you just nurtured me. And that was my first meeting with you. You made me feel safe. You made me feel comfortable, and you made me want to return. And you've built your life around networking.
Yeah.
So tell me more about your story and how you've ended up where you are today.
At my first networking event, which was November 2005, no one told me how it worked. And I turned up and no one told me that I needed to do a 60-second introduction in front of people. And one of the reasons why I decided personally to contact as many people as I could go into their first networking event was so that I could explain that to them, so that people didn't turn up quite as scared as me. Because prior to that, 1988, I started work as an estate agent when I left school, and I was an estate agent for almost 20 years, and I was really comfortable inside that world, but I didn't know how networking events worked. And so when that happened to me, I remember thinking there just must be a better way. So when I was network director for 4Networking, I would get in touch with as many of the people booked into their first meeting as possible. It wasn't a perfect system because the volume was quite high, but I did my best, and I'm still in touch with a load of those people now. I'm still in touch with you. I'm still in touch with Jay Blake, of course. I'm still in touch with all these wonderful people that I spoke to at their first networking events, and that was, you know, I've done something around 2,000 networking events now. I've got one tomorrow in Birmingham. I was just quite passionate that this was a way to build a business, but also we could do it in a better way than had been done before. The way that it had been done before was leaving people turning up unprepared and scared and so on. So that's why I did better with that. That was the point.
And from that, you stemmed Business Networking for Dummies, which was an absolutely fantastic book. It is behind me. I just couldn't quite get down to it. I think that one's signed as well. And you talk about, when you talked about Business Networking for Dummies, I believe that one of your favorite quotes is, "The harder I work, the luckier I get." Am I there or thereabouts?
Yeah, not my quote, but it's one which I've used a lot. Yeah.
And I seem to remember that you were out, you were doing gigs for people, you were speaking to people, and you had a small conversation with a lady at a certain presentation, and nothing actually stemmed of it then. And she turned out to be the person who got you to write the book for dummies. And a lot of people said, "Oh, you're so lucky." And it wasn't. Your favorite statement is, the more you network, the more you communicate, the more you have those small conversations,
Yeah.
you don't know where it's going.
Yeah, I think that's, people have accused me of being in the right place at the right time. But when I went to, it was at the Excel in London, when I happened to be in the same room as Wiley, the company who published the Dummies series of books and the Capstone series of books, which Instant Networking was. And yeah, I bumped into them that day and they happened to see me speak. But the bit that people ignore is that that was the 7th year that I was at that event, and that event happens twice a year and it's 2 days, and I used to stay for the whole 2 days of the event. And so yeah, I was in the right place at the right time, but that was an option that was open to everyone. I realized I could do this by brute force. If I was everywhere as much of the time as possible, then serendipity, sorry, and averages would mean that quite often I was in the room as in the same room as some really good people, and that happened. And that's they saw me speak. They asked me to write Business Networking for Dummies. That was a thing that happened, and I did more and more. I went to a networking event in Herefordshire 2 years ago, and someone who came to see me speak was Becky Wall, who runs the Lou of the Year Awards, and I've ended up doing a load of work for them. But if I hadn't gone to Hereford, which is a 2.5-hour drive from here, I would never have bumped into Becky. So I don't really pretend to have a lot of skill, but I've put myself in front of an awful lot of people over the years, and that has led to me speaking in some sort of really brilliant places and picking up a load of amazing clients and friends along the way. I mean, and that's the thing. I do a lot of work with Wes Linden, national network leader for Utility Warehouse, and he talks about making friends for the sake of making friends. And sometimes business comes from it, but when you approach it with that spirit that you're making friends for the sake of making friends, that can be absolutely fantastic. You meet people, you just pick up a lot of friends along the way, and that turns into business sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the key things about 4N back in the day: meet, like, know,
Yeah,
trust. And that was all part of the script that we went through, and part of what we tried to deal with everybody around the table. Is you don't come in yelling, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. We find out a little bit about you first, and then there will be a natural evolution of conversation.
yeah,
And I think that art has been lost. And that brings me really to the networking retreat and connect. So where are you at now with those?
so I now run Connect, which is a group of business people who I actively look for opportunities for. That's on a much smaller scale than For Networking. When I was part of the team at For Networking, we had around 5,000 events a year in the UK, and I'm running a very small networking organization with less than 50 people in it, but I've chosen the people who are in it. I also do a lot of networking training under the Networking Retreat brand, whether that's the Networking Success Program, which we do online, the Networking Retreat itself, which we paused for lockdown, ended up paused for several years, but I'm bringing it back this year. There's lots of things that I do around the networking space, because I think we overcomplicate it. And if we just talk to people and get to know people, and I'll credit Wes every time I say it, make friends for the sake of making friends, then good things happen along the way. And I think that's what I'm trying to get to the stage where good things happen.
I think earlier you mentioned a mutual friend of ours, Jay Blake.
Yeah.
And my funny story with this is I used to live 6 miles away from Jay, and did for probably 10, 12 years. Never met him. Never met him at networking, because when I lived there, I didn't need to network. I was fully employed. I actually moved up to Scotland in 2017, and that was when I first connected with Jay, to find out that he lived 6 miles from the village that I grew up in
Right.
was absolutely incredible. But Jay, I was doing a keynote speech for another friend of ours, Brian Morrison, who was
Yeah.
running. Yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't seen him for a while, but he was running an event at the Trades Hall in Glasgow, and he'd asked me to do a keynote speech. So I said yes, of course. Jay hopped on an overnight bus and came up to support me in the speech, to get on the overnight bus to go home. And it was all through conversation, through mutual friends like yourself, and through communicating. And Jay is another one that goes out and says, let's have a conversation, let's see where we go.
Yeah.
And some conversations actually blossom, and some conversations don't. And you know what? That's fine, because that's the way it should be. You probably don't have the ability to be friends with everybody you connect with.
No, I think there's Dunbar's number, which says that you can keep a maximum. It's called Dunbar's number. You can have a maximum of about 150 people in your circle at any one time. But what that ignores is that people come in and go out. That it's not a fix. You get to your 150 and you're with all of those people for life. That changes, and I think it's one of the things that I love about networking. You spot people moving closer to you, and sometimes people move further away as well. But that's something which I talk about a lot: how you spot people moving sort of in and out of your network, in and out of your sphere, and in and out of your friendship as well. I mean, to be fair, that happens as well along the way. So I think, yeah, it's worth paying attention to that along the way too.
So if people wanted to get in touch with you, if people wanted to find out more about Connect, or to find out more about the networking retreat, what's the best way of doing that?
Oh, find me on social media. I've got a relatively unusual name. Although the guy who lost 60 million in Bitcoin has got exactly the same name as me, that's not me. But you will find me as Stefan Thomas. You'll find me as Stefan Thomas on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, so on and so forth. So yeah, just find me on the platform that you're most comfortable with. I'm active on all of them, but just, yeah, come and look for me there. And I'm always happy to connect with people. I've run out of friends on Facebook, so people have to follow me rather than friend me these days. So, because I speak on stage quite a lot, I get quite a lot of friend requests from people who've seen me speak, and it's got to the stage now where I've gone over Facebook's magic number, but people can still follow me on Facebook. And I will personally connect with as many as I can. But LinkedIn and Instagram and TikTok as well, people are very welcome to connect with me.
That's lovely. Thank goodness I got in early on the old friend's sake.
Yeah, I know. Same with, yeah, they've got limits, all of them.
Yeah. So a couple of things have happened to you recently, and I thought the way you handled your troll was epic. Um, I think that anybody getting involved in social media, if they don't realise there is a downside, then let's hope that this video serves to give them that heads up.
Yeah.
So can you, Tracy, paraphrase or give an overview of your troll and what happened?
I mean, I've had a few over the years, in as much as I do have someone who follows me around the internet, sets up fake LinkedIn accounts and so on to post negative comments about me. That happens. I know who it is, but he does follow me around the internet, and that's a shame. And then recently, I've had people tell me that I should have a more age-appropriate hairstyle, and I have to live with that one as well. But I mean, that's fine. That's hilarious to me. One of them is my troll, because that was on LinkedIn, and that's, I know who it is. But again, someone just local here in Whitney has posted a broadly similar comment, and I find that quite amusing, really. I wouldn't dream of commenting on other people's appearance, but equally it's social media does open up to that, and I think mine is all very tame, and people can come at me, and I really don't care. I think it's a shame. I think it's a shame that someone who I used to know through networking spends some of their time trolling me and other people and just being negative. That's a shame, but that's a shame for them. And I don't let them live rent free in my head. I just get on with life and know they're going to pick on me every so often. That's my plan.
And you see, I had to develop a thicker skin. And I looked to you. I didn't ask you for help at the time, but I looked to how you were standing up and being counter, as it were. And I thought, right, he's doing this with such professionalism. And I don't want to spiral down into a big rut. That's not where I want to go. I get frustrated when I put a business post out and someone tries to knock me down. And there's not any one person that does that. It could be a range of different people. And what goes through my head is, I'm just trying to earn a living here. Why are you trying to cut me down? And I think that you talked about not living rent free in your head. And I heard, actually, it's not about me. And it's not about my business, it's about them and what motivates them. So actually, I can just move on from that. I'll be polite at all times. I will block them if they get too much. But actually, I found that if I don't answer to what they say, they get bored very quickly with me and go away.
Yeah, and I think it is jealousy. I know my parents told me that when I was at school, if someone's bullying you or picking on you, and I don't know what for, right? Because I can't remember if it was Gary Vaynerchuk or someone else who said, if you're jealous of someone's life, swap with them, but you've got to take everything. So I sort of famously in my own world now talk about the fact that I have inflammatory bowel disease, I have ulcerative colitis. So if you want, not you, but anyone else wants to better my life where I'm speaking on stage and that looks fun, you can have the ulcerative colitis as well. You can have the fatigue and everything that goes with that, and the other conditions that I've picked up as a result, and all of the other stuff, because what people see on social media is the edited highlights, isn't it? There's stuff that goes on in the background. And actually, and again, Stephen Bartlett has talked about this really recently, talking about Stephen Bartlett on another interview I did today. Being an entrepreneur or being self-employed has an awful lot of downsides as well as the upsides, the financial ups and downs, the emotional ups and downs, the losing a client when you've done nothing wrong. And if someone wants all of that, they can have it. You know, I think it's easy to be jealous for the bits of someone's life that you see on social media. And also, a very old-fashioned expression, you know, there's more than one way to skin a cat. If I put an opinion on social media about a way of doing business or a way of doing networking, that's what's worked for me, and it's what's worked for some of my clients. I'm not saying it's 100% universal. If you want to disagree with it, that's fine, because an opinion is an opinion. I have different opinions to a number of people. They happen to work for me, but they don't have to be universal. And so that's a thing. If people want to follow you around the internet, it's to do with them, not to do with you. Another very old-fashioned expression: if you've got nothing nice to say nothing. And that's how I prefer to live my life. It's hard sometimes, right? It's hard sometimes. Someone's really horrible to you and you want to fight back, but it's like, yeah, what am I doing with that energy? I'd rather, I'm going to use another Gary Vaynerchuk expression. There's two ways of building the biggest house in town, and only one of them works. One way of building the biggest house in town is to tear everyone else's house down until yours is the biggest. But you know what people are doing? They're building another house. Whilst you're tearing theirs down, they're going and building another one somewhere else. And so all the time you're concentrating on tearing everyone else's house down, you're not concentrating on building and maintaining your own. And I think I've got enough stuff of my own to maintain here that I will get on with building mine. And if someone wants to try and tear it down, that's on them, not on me. There you go. That's my motivational sermon for the afternoon.
One of my friends says, your opinion of me does not put food on my table.
No.
And she goes on to say, your opinion of me is actually none of my business.
No.
And that was a really great lesson for me, because like I say, I have this very thin skin and I needed to thicken it.
Yeah, I think I've got quite a thin skin. I think I've tried to have a thicker skin, but I've personally got quite a thin skin, and I've tried to build that. I think I have over the years, and I think part of it, you know, I've got a wife, I've got 5 kids, I've got all of these other people that I care about, so I've chosen to be a bit more robust for them, really.
And speaking of your wife, the beautiful and hugely talented Sharon, I think if you had any other hairstyle living with a hairstylist, we would all be wondering what's going on.
Yeah, well, it was my hairdresser that introduced me to Sharon, because Sharon worked for Adam at the time. And so, yeah, I get to live with an ex-hairdresser now, but that's Sharon still does my hair, although she doesn't do anyone else's, and that's part of it. Yeah. I get on, and yeah, we sort of, Sharon styles me, really, I guess. So yeah, that's part of it.
I think it's all part of the wonderful tapestry of life. I just laugh at the fact that the 3 boys of yours that I've seen pictures of all tower above you, and you're pretty tall yourself.
I'm not that tall, actually, but the boys are taller than me. I mean, they generation to generation, people are getting taller, aren't they? So yeah, they are. I'm 5'9" or 5'10". But yeah, certainly they've done better than me in that respect. So yeah, they're doing all right.
Good. Well, Stefan, I want to thank you for your time today.
No, not
I
at
will
all.
actually be seeing you before this video goes out, because I will see you in Glasgow very shortly at
4th of
hashtag,
March.
yes, 4th of March. I'll see you at hashtag events. I have booked my own car because my husband nicks the car, so I've booked my own
Okay,
car for
yeah.
that day. So I'll definitely see you there. I want to thank you very much, and I want to recommend to anybody looking at this podcast, this video, have a look at Stefan, find the platform of your choice, have a look at what he does, see if he speaks to you. He certainly, as you can tell, spoke to me in 2013, and I have never looked back. So have a look at what's out there. Stefan, I wish you all the best for the afternoon,
Thank you very much.
and I will speak with you soon.
You will.
Thanks,
Take care, Sam.
everybody.
Bye-bye.